Jack Ebling here with Lindsay Huddleston. It's a press pass preview, and we are live at Breslin Center after Michigan State 77-65 win over Rutgers. And Lindsay, that game was close for a long time.
Well, that's the final score on paper, but it did not feel like that as we watched the game. Normally when you see a great team like Michigan State, they may struggle in the first half, but normally that first few minutes of the second half they take off. But it wasn't until it was about 6 minutes left that we saw the change and see the score that we see now.
And Tom Izzo in the postgame said that this team is not equipped to dominate right now. The idea is to win games and almost survival mode with the players who are out.
Yeah, and he also paid huge compliments to this Rutgers team. He spoke really highly of their coaching staff and said they always come to compete. And he even said that if Rutgers is considered one of the strong teams in this league, it really speaks to where this league is going at, because these guys are competing night in, night out.
Well, we know that Rutgers beat Stephen F. Austin by 12, and Stephen F. Austin won at Duke, and Duke beat Michigan State by 12. So now Michigan State beating Rutgers by 12. It's the ultimate transitive property.
Right.
But for Tom Izzo to play 4 players more than 33 minutes and 49 seconds, that is a lot. Because he didn't like to play guys more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, he doesn't like that, and he talked about the fact that it's not what he originally started with. We all know that this season started out with different expectations, different people in the lineup. They're not here, so now you have to navigate and get other people ready to play and go forward and hope they can play their best when it's time for them to play.
The key to the win, and Michigan State had slight statistical edges in field goal shooting, free throw shooting, rebounding. But the thing that really made a difference to me was that the wings, Aaron Henry and Gabe Brown, shot 16 free throws and made 15. So they made 2 more free throws than Rutgers' entire team. And when you have that kind of aggressiveness and offensive initiative, that takes some of the burden off Cassius Winston. Cash is still heroic tonight, 23 points, 7 assists, 3 steals. Made a lot of things happen, but he can't do it alone.
I totally agree. When you see Cassius come through in the clutch and hit a big play, he had a 3 in transition that really got him smiling. Everyone's happy to see that, but you don't want to have to rely on him to do that all the time. You want other players who can step up and contribute, because we know the road to the Final Four to get to Atlanta is going to be a lot of games played, a lot of time, and he's going to need that rest and not have to be the man all the time.
You ready for some bad news?
Okay, give me some bad news.
Michigan State is now 6-3. Going back to 1987-88, that is the last time a team that had 3 losses in its first 10 games won the NCAA title. So any team that started less than 8-2, 32 straight years, they didn't win it.
So this is the year we disregard those statistics and say don't worry about that. But that's a good point. So the struggle is real. I guess that's what
struggle is real. Yes. This is not something imagined. This is not something that's just going to disappear. They're going to have to tough it out, play through this. And Rutgers is the kind of team, as Cassius Winston said in the locker room, that they make the game ugly. They're gritty. They just kind of grind it. And you hate to play a team like that. Plus, they know everything you're going to do. And Steve Pikiell's a very good coach. I think he really understands the Michigan State system. His players were anticipating what the Spartans wanted to do. They were getting back in transition. They were not going to let Michigan State beat them with the running game, but that happens a lot in conference play.
Right. And another thing that's a strong characteristic of this Rutgers team is physicality. Coach Izzo talked about that. They're a physical team, and Michigan State having the reputation for being one of the most physical teams in the land. When you have another team playing physical, that's almost a check, if not a checkmate sometimes, and make those guys have to reassess what they're going to do. And I think that's why we didn't see that score pull away until late in the second half compared to early in the first or early in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was one of those games that Michigan State at the time doesn't feel great about. But at the end, they're going to look back, and Rutgers is going to get some teams. They are also 6-3, so they have the same record Michigan State does. And at the end, a win over Rutgers, it counts.
Yeah, and just to give Rutgers a little bit more limelight, they got a player whose name we know well, Ron Harper Jr. Can you imagine that? He's out there, he's a big, so even with the name associated with a professional athlete, someone who's been great, that should be a confidence booster. These guys feel good about themselves.
He didn't play like a former Chicago Bull. He was 4 for 12 from the field. So
right.
Yeah, but that's the basketball part of today. Before the game, Mark D'Antonio held a press conference.
Yes.
Talking about Michigan State's bowl opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
6-6 Spartans versus 8-4 Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Demon Deacons 4-4 in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be in Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Different environment in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be cold. It's an open air press box. And finally, fans say, good, you know what, we feel like sitting out in the stands.
Wow, yeah, that's tough. I think a lot of people may have had their hearts set on staying closer to home, maybe for the sake of the convenience. But when you look at what's important for the sake of the status of the bowl, going away to New York probably is a little bit more status than going down to Ford Field, you think?
I think it's a mixed bag. You find that players, they want to have every opportunity they can. I mean, New York is New York. They're going to have more time there. They haven't been there.
Right.
So they're looking forward to it. Administration, it costs them $1 million, $1.5 million. They're probably not looking forward to it. Some fans would rather take a trip. A lot of others would not. They wish they could just drive down to Ford Field. So it's a mixed bag, and Michigan State's going to have to play well to beat Wake Forest.
Staying on that topic, getting past the fan part, from a recruiting standpoint, is this a better recruiting optic to be able to play in the Pinstripe Bowl in New York?
I don't think any great player, or even a very good player, is going to make his decision based on whether you play in New York or Detroit. Neither one of those games are what would be considered high-profile games.
That's true.
They're not marquee games. They're not games you dream of playing in. It's not
right.
like your choice is your Orange Bowl or Sugar Bowl.
Right. It's Pinstripe or Quick Lane, huh? yeah, I get it.
Right?
Good point.
Should also mention that we have Press Pass coming up tonight at 11. I was over there, left in the middle of this game.
Yes, you did.
And just got back when it ended. But we did that show with Tom Crawford, Rico Beard, and Doug Warren.
Oh, cool.
And some classic rants.
I'm sure.
There was no bodily harm done, but it was close.
It was close. You had to step in the middle
for
a few
while.
times.
Yes, absolutely.
I have to look and see that later.
And Doug was talking a lot about the trip that we all took. You were the navigator. You were driving.
Sure.
Did a great job of driving down to Indianapolis.
Sure.
And we saw Ohio State flex in the second half, 27-0 advantage in the third and fourth quarters, when it looked like Wisconsin might get it done.
Right. You know, you look at that tale of two halves. You know, a Wisconsin team that we saw early in the season, solid team. You know, a team you expect a lot of, and they were, if you will, dominating in the first half. But your intuition tells you, hold on, there are two halves you got to go through. And once they got to the second part of that game, it was all Ohio State.
I actually won a bet on that game. I did, yeah.
You got me. You got me. I was seeing what his memory was like, but you got a memory like a, attack with that. So very good.
We have Michigan State and Oakland.
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes.
At Little Caesars Arena.
LCA.
And for those of you who've never had an opportunity to go down and see a game, maybe you're not a pro basketball fan, you're not a Pistons Red Wings fan, whatever the case may be, tickets are available for that. I think you can still get tickets. And it's a lot of fun. Michigan State alums down in the Detroit area have a great time down there.
Right.
Looking forward to that game. And then they got a Big Ten game at Northwestern. And then they'll finish out the month with MAC opponents. And then get ready for the start of real Big Ten play. Not that Rutgers and Northwestern aren't real Big Ten games, but then it really gets tough here the first week of January, including the game with Michigan here on the 5th.
Right.
And a lot of people are already lined up for that.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch. Look forward to being there.
For Lindsay Huddleston, Jack Ebling saying, we'll see you tonight on Press Pass.